Narcissists can be mean. I'm sure you've been exposed to versions of their mean spirit over and over again in so many different kinds of ways. There can be times when you have a disagreement. You want to say, let's talk about this disagreement we have. But instead, they can come on in a highly toxic way, insulting, mocking, ridiculing. Sometimes you have to be on the receiving end of their rage and their dominance over you. And you're not allowed to say anything in reverse. They can hold on to grudges, talk behind your back. They can refuse to cooperate, or they can sabotage efforts that you have made. The possibilities of their mean streak is endless. The more you are around these people, it absolutely wears you out. What's worse, you can find yourself in reactive mode, and before you know it, they are establishing your pace, and you don't like who you've become or how you've responded. It's one big mess. I'd like to ask some questions to this mean narcissist. How have you convinced yourself that you can somehow elevate yourself by diminishing others? How does that work? There is no good logic there. Another question, do you honestly believe it's reasonable to treat other individuals in ways that you yourself would absolutely refuse to be treated with on your own personal basis? Pretty inconsistent, right? And narcissists have a rationalization for that too. A third question, how is it that a fellow human has become in your mind a being to be used, as opposed to a soul to be nurtured? What lessons did you miss that allowed you to go on into that kind of space? Are people just here to be manipulated, exploited, and dominated by you? How did you learn to think that way? Another question, how did you so learn to disregard the needs, feelings, and perspectives of other human beings? How did that happen? Another question, how is it that you are so willing to overlook the misery that you cause? Typically, what they'll do is they'll bring on this misery and then they'll turn it around and say, you're the one that created it. No, in your meanness, you are the one who set the table and then you're perpetuating it. How is that you can't see that? Are you that numb to the pain that other people feel? Whether you caused it or not, do you just have no regard for the fact that after they have been with you, they're hurting? That's what happens. But they walk away thinking, that's not my problem. Or, in your meanness, how is it that you've decided that it's okay to make anger a defining feature in your personality? This anger comes in so many forms. What is it about this harsh form of anger that's so appealing? Why do they keep going back to this? Frankly, mean narcissists have what I refer to as an addiction to their own anger. They just keep going back and they have to have more and more of it. Another question, how is it that you can rationalize that yours is the only opinion in the room that matters? And then on top of it, then you rationalize why it's reasonable to mock and diminish those who have very different opinions. Is ridicule a good relationship strategy? Really? And another question is, do you have no regard for goodness Or what's worse, do you even think of yourself, even in the midst of your meanness, as being the embodiment of goodness? How in the world have you been able to take yourself into that kind of thinking? These questions I've mentioned are a reflection of the perplexion that you and I can have as we engage with these people. Let's realize we are talking about very low awareness individuals. When we talk about mean narcissists, these are people that have low empathy, an arrogant sense of correctness. The net result is their gross disregard and disrespect for the people that are in front of them. And they aren't bashful about letting you know that. Now, pulling back, let's acknowledge that fundamentally, all of us are social people. We want to feel like we belong, that we matter, that we have significance, including that narcissist in front of us, in front of you, including yourself. That's part of the nature of humanity. We want to feel distinct. Narcissists have learned, though early in their development, that life is not about connecting in a mutually gratifying way. Life is a competition, and they are dreadfully afraid of being on the low end of the relationship competition. And in most cases, these mean narcissists were already exposed to other mean narcissists who fed this kind of philosophy to them through their ways of dealing with them. So they have decided, okay, somewhere along the way, somebody has to take the blame if I am on the outside. I want to be accepted, but if you are not accepting of me, then I have to find someone who will pay for my feelings of hurt, my feelings of rejection, my feelings of alienation, my feelings of uncertainty, my feelings of fear. They aren't aware enough to actually articulate it like I just did, but that's what is going on inside of them. Mean narcissists are all about compensation. Compensation for the pessimistic way they have come to view the world. They've decided they will never be an outsider. So they have decided to make you the outsider. I'll show you who I am. I'll make you pay if you make my pain any worse. No one has the right to tell me who I'm supposed to be. It's exhausting. When you take a look, just a little glance at the gross inappropriateness of their behaviors, they have their meanness rationalized. Now, with all of this as the background, you can see why it's quite easy for them to step into the prime ingredients of narcissism. These individuals determined long ago that I have to be in control so that the other people won't control me. That's what narcissism is all about. They have also determined that along with the control, that proves that they have a superior angle, which means, of course, that you are on the inferior. And they don't mind reminding you of that. They've decided that they don't really need to understand you, but you have to understand them, which is why they come on so forceful and so loud and so harsh. You will see that I am somebody that must be reckoned with. To them, it's all about winning and losing, and you are the loser, and they can justify that being the case, that it's okay to remind you that you're the loser. When you put all this out there, like we're doing here, it just makes so little sense. And yet, there it is. So that being the case, let's remind ourselves of where you are in all of this. You are the recipient of their meanness, and it hurts. And if at all possible, of course, I'm hoping that you can pull away. But if you can't, then at the very least, you want to keep things as minimal as possible. Reveal very little about who you are. Don't go into discussion about correct versus incorrect. Just stay functional and functional only. If you can get away from them, figure out what that exit plan is going to be. Whether it's at work, inside friendships, inside family, or social organizations, etc. Because these individuals tend to be the gift that keeps on giving. So if possible, move on. And then remind yourself to stay on the side of respect, decency, and courtesy. And I want that to be something that you stand for, rather than you just becoming a mirror responded to their meanness. It's like, no, I want to live a life that's good. I'm committed to that. Best as I can, I'm going to seek out people who are able to join me in that. Mean individuals have no place inside your inner circle.